Let me say quickly, I've not had a chance in this kind of setting to highlight something that we recently learned from the Department of Veterans Affairs and from OMB. A mandatory funding shortfall of approximately $3 billion in the compensation and pension and readjustment benefits accounts for fiscal year 24, and a discretionary funding shortfall of approximately $12 billion in its medical care accounts for fiscal year 25. VA, Department of Veterans Affairs, and OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, waited until after this committee passed its Milcon VA appropriations bill 2 weeks ago to come forward with this information. And only after this committee had acted on a bipartisan basis, to craft a funding deal based on overall spending caps enacted in the Fiscal Responsibility Act, and they are coming forward with an accurate budget to provide for our nation's veterans. So only after we did our work are we informed of this problem. And it could not, in my view, have been only then did the VA or OMB know these facts. We've had the Secretary, as the chairman of this committee would know, in front of our Committee on Veterans Affairs, and the testimony from him and from the department officials is they have sufficient funds to implement the PACT Act. This we have an obligation to our veterans. There's no one in this room and no one in the Committee on Veterans Affairs that believes otherwise. But the VA claims now that 7 million veterans and survivors are at risk of not receiving their benefit payments on October the 1st, a date in which there's very few days in which we will be here between now and then if Congress does not act before September the 20th. Under the current congressional schedule, it's only those few weeks between now and September 20th. As I said, I think we're all committed, I'm committed to making sure veterans and survivors do not suffer. But I think this is significant financial mismanagement and/or incompetence at the Department of Veterans Affairs. And I'm gravely concerned that the administration, both the VA and OMB, specifically misled Congress for months about the state of affairs at the VA and the level of resources that are actually needed to care for veterans and their survivors. I just want to make certain that it's known this is unacceptable, and I hope to all of my colleagues, we have no choice but to address the issue, but we also ought not to leave unaddressed the issue of the ability of the Department of Veterans Affairs and OMB to tell us the truth in a timely manner. They need to be much more transparent and forthcoming. I'm the lead Republican on the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee. I hope that Senator Tester and I will be able to host and hold a hearing with Secretary McDonough and other VA leaders about this mess in coming weeks. As we proceed with funding the government in fiscal year 25, we all have another issue that presumably you could have dealt with had you known when you made the decisions about emergency spending and whether it was domestic or defense. So I offer my condolences to the two of you, but the consequences are significant for many people and a lot more challenges for us as we try to do something in a fiscally responsible manner and take care of the veterans who deserve the benefits that the PACT Act provides. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me.